Hey everyone, my guests today are Peter Calfee and Kevin Dolan. Peter and Kevin are the co-authors of Hijacked, a bold, unflinching look at how America's founding pillars are being systematically dismantled from within. Driven by a deep love for this country and a commitment to truth, they've dedicated themselves to sounding the alarm on the cultural, political, and moral forces threatening the principles that made America the greatest nation in history. From the wisdom of the Founding Fathers to the battles being fought in the classrooms, courtrooms, and living rooms today, Peter and Kevin bring a powerful, passionate case for why we must reclaim what's been stolen and exactly how to do it. Welcome to the show, guys. I want to thank you for being here today.
Pleased to be here.
Thank you. Would you be able to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you're doing?
Kevin?
Go ahead, Peter.
Well, Peter Calfee. We're co-authors. We have been spending a few years writing this book on topics that were of strong interest to us in terms of inability to communicate, inability of discussion, inability to carry on good logical arguments in a polite way, sides, not listening to sides, and staying above the clouds, trying to understand really what was going on. And that led us to communicate, that led us to meet at a Veterans Day lunch, actually, a few years back, and we're both veterans. And we realized 3 hours later we had a lot to think about and a lot to talk about. And so we began to write and consider what would be the topic. And we patterned ourselves after Thomas Paine, 1775, Common Sense, which was only 49 pages, but it inspired 13 colonies, and perhaps over 1 million of the 2.5 million colonists read his pamphlet in a matter of months. So these things can have an influence, and Kevin, with which I totally agree, thinks of this as a major gift that we're giving to the country, to, hey, our republic, a republic form of government, we might be losing it. It might be being hijacked unless we can save it.
Yeah. All right. How about
Peter
you, Kevin?
didn't really go into his background. He's quite well educated. He went to a great prep school. Then he went to Phillips Exeter. Then he went to Stanford for his undergraduate, and Chicago's Booth School for his MBA, which is one of the top MBA programs in the country. I went to public high school, went to college in Denison University in Ohio, MBA in economics, and then I went to the Wharton School while I was flying for American Airlines, because I got out of Denison and I went to pilot training for the Air Force. So it was a aggressive couple of years there while I was flying Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, going to school full time Monday through Thursday. But got through it.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I was wondering how you two met and teamed up for the book. I didn't know if you were lifelong friends or how that happened. So
we became lifelong friends because of that.
Peter mentioned it. It was at the we met at a Veterans Day luncheon at our club. We didn't know each other before that. It was back in 22, I believe it was, and from that day, from that conversation he referred to, we quickly asked if we each wanted to participate in writing this book, and we both agreed. And we took 3 years, but we did it. And so he was in the Army and I was in the Air Force. And so we're proud of the country and believe that people ought to be concerned about serving the country in some regard. And then giving back is a big issue for our society's fabric.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for your service. I hope you get told that enough. It's
our pleasure.
Yeah. All right. So can you tell me a little bit about Hijacked? I have not read it yet, but I think I'm going to love it because I see that there are some issues that keep coming up that I think this really digs into.
You want to give the background, Peter?
Sure. Really, drawing from Thomas Paine, the common sense is kind of lost. An ability to really think critically and think and reflect and pause to consider what you're looking at and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. The normal social intercourse of what's going on in various topics. And we not so quickly, but we got down to the facts that not only was critical thinking disappearing in our country, which you see mentioned in most every article now, that there is lack of critical thinking. Nobody's critically understanding what's going on. They're looking at something or being told something like automatons, and off they go with that without even thinking about it. They don't even know what they're saying. Hence, you watch the news every night, you realize most people inadvertently are lying because they don't understand what they're saying. I'm not critical of people. It's just that, they're not using what God gave them, the brain, the gut, the common sense that's in all of us, which led us to, well, how did that happen? Well, education got hijacked. In the last 50 years, education, and then, of course, it was a foundational principle of communism to hijack education and educate people the way you wanted to have them educated. Socialism, too.
That effectively indoctrinate them.
Exactly. And then what else got hijacked was the religion, faith, and values, the continuum from Plato and Socrates, and even before, up until today. The whole sense of the golden rule, what makes sense, what is right, what is wrong, over decades, over millennia. And that gives you a sense of where you are, how you can begin to think critically and use your brain, the common sense, the approach to argument that could be very civilly done and come to a conclusion as to what is right and what is wrong. All of that's been hijacked, which led right into, in our conversations over the past 3 years, history. Nobody understands it. It's been compromised, let alone it's been hijacked. The whole history has been interpreted, and this goes right into Nazism, socialism, communism, George Orwell.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what history is, and what I say goes, which ties into identity politics, which is Sir Victor Davis Hanson and many others out of Hoover Institute, who, if you don't know your faith and value and religion, whatever it may be, we're not pushing one or the other. If you don't have any sense of where you are in the continuum, in this eternal thread of humankind, then you're left like Nietzsche, a nihilist in the corner, and you have to create your own identity. Well, that becomes so important to you because the only thing you have to hang on to, that you begin to present that to Kevin and to Sam and to Peter and to everyone else. That's my identity. You don't like it? Well, you're wrong. I'm right. And those are the conversations we've seen for the last 20 years. And that leads right into what Kevin referred to, and I'll let him speak to it. The political system has been hijacked, which in turn hijacks the economic system. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, and I'll even back up just a little bit here to reinforce part of what Peter said, then get in the political system. In the introduction, that this country we believe, is being hijacked. There's a 250-year history of our founding documents. We must understand the building blocks of our country and how they've been hijacked. Understanding the power of freedom of speech, which is so basic to being able to maintain our freedoms. If you don't have freedom of speech, you can't speak freely. Well, how do you talk about a topic if you can't speak freely? And then what people don't realize is that our society is, as what I call, we call it the fabric of society. And it's referred to, it's a common phrase in some regards, but I don't think people realize how important that term is, fabric of society. It's a term that is dynamic. It is either strengthening or weakening, but it's not remaining static. And so what things enter into that? Well, we try to lay things out in the book that go through a logical process about people beginning to go back and say, I haven't questioned anything. I've just been taking information in, and everybody is on the verge, not only the children in education being indoctrinated, which is not being educated. Our first chapter is critical thinking. And in critical thinking, it's a process. You question everything. And so a teacher should be encouraging children to be able to think critically. And so they should be questioning everything. And so when a topic is presented to a child, they should master the topic about being able to explain their pros and cons and talk about a topic well, as opposed to an indoctrination process where the teacher says you'll get a good grade if you speak back what I tell you. Well, that's not being educated. It's not being well informed. It's dictating by memory, which is no logic. It's just memory. So if you want to have control over people, you think indoctrination is great. But if you want to maintain your freedom, it's a function of this is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Mm-hmm. Well, if we're going to be of the people and you're governed by our elected individuals, we need to be able to question what they're doing properly, etc. So critical thinking is the first chapter, and we could go on further about it. But the book isn't that long. It's 109 pages. But there's an appendix section behind it that attaches to the chapters of the book. So they're numbered by chapter, and then if it's chapter 1 has 5 things, then it'd be 1 A, B, C, D, E appendices. And if it's chapter 5, it'd be, and there's 4 of those, it'd be 5 A, B, C, D. Okay. So there's a couple of chapters don't have appendices, but those that do have letter alphabets for those applying to that chapter. So it helps you identify what you want to do. If you're reviewing a chapter, then you say, well, what appendices should I review that are really the topics are being covered in what chapter, so that you get a good consistent approach to things. Then after critical thinking, as Peter said, you got education, that's indoctrination versus teaching critical thinking, reading, write, math, and the basic foundations of being able to communicate. Then you've got a value system created in, Peter talks about the continuum process. It's a value system, but it's a philosophical, spiritual value system that we believe is really foundational. The nihilist approach of saying, hey, what I say is right because it's my interpretation and I'm just right. Well, no, there's logic. We can debate it. We can discuss it. You may be right on a thought process, but you may be wrong. And what I try and do when I'm talking to people about things, and I'm not perfect at it, but I try and remember to say, I could be wrong, but, and then I go through the logic of the topic I'm about to express my position on. In so doing, I'm saying I could be wrong. What does that mean? That means I've thought through the topic. However, this is the information that I currently have. If you've got more information, there's a possibility that I might alter my opinion or adjust it slightly or significantly because there's new information I have not been aware of. And I'm not embarrassed then because I've said I could be wrong, but too many people start into a debate and they say, this is going to prove they're right. Well, the more I've learned, and I think Peter and I have nice educations, the more I recognize how little I know. So there's always people with more expertise in any particular area you're going to talk to them about. So we should talk to everybody with respect, and then you develop more respect for someone because they're humble and yet they're extremely knowledgeable. That is probably the ideal combination. Yeah. And so that's the process of to me a value system and being able to think critically, the education, the value system, and then the history can be taken and can be abused. And George Orwell's 1984 presents how history can be abused. And once you've got those fundamental building blocks, because you don't want to repeat mistakes, history gives you information to not repeat mistakes. Yeah. If you learn from it. So now with the building blocks in place, you're ready to talk about the next 2 chapters, which are history, which are political systems and economic systems. What's important about the political system is that it's the dominant system. It controls effectively the economic system. The economic system serves at the convenience of the political system. And therefore, if the political system wants to ruin the economic system, it has the power to do so. And that's where you get into different forms of government. So you read through the chapter on political systems and you find different forms of government. And we, I think, identify the fact that many forms of government really are abusive in nature, and they're not governed of the people, by the people, and for the people. They're government imposed upon the people. And in that process, the elites think that they know better than, well, what history has shown, in our opinion, is that the elites really don't know better than the common man. Common sense is really important, and too many elites get away from common sense.
And
They're saying things that are absolutely incorrect.
you see,
Yeah.
Sam,
And
I was just going to interject. You see where our system is bottom up, where the people elect and follow through on representation of their vote, their desires, their wants in a participatory government. And you can see exactly what Kevin just said. The politics ruins economics. Venezuela, one of the most rich countries in the world, ruined by socialism. Argentina, centuries ago, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, ruined by socialism. Russia, 11 time zones. The variation in land and minerals that are existing there, more so than I would suggest to you, China, in a much smaller area in China, ruined by communism. So what is being proposed even today without any thought and common sense is sidelining what works to replace it with what doesn't work. And how many times...
I'd use an example on this thing. In communism, how many people died under Stalin? It was like 10, 15 million. You can look it up in the World Wide Web, and you'll find out a pretty accurate number, no doubt. Well, the same thing under Mao. They probably, between the two of those countries, and we're not talking, we could include Cambodia, Cuba, and other ones. But those two big ones, I think they're in excess of 35 million people died under their process. Now, here we have things where people are mad that the government is doing anything here. And I understand the government is of 350 million people. You want the government to do everything properly. We all do. I do. Peter does. You do. It's great. But the thing you have to realize, in 350 mistakes are going to be made. And they're not, some mistakes are not on purpose.
Right.
They're the process of letting people, giving them responsibilities, and then they misuse the responsibility, and so it doesn't handle perfectly, but you need that activity taken care of, so you have to employ someone to do it. Okay, fine. And so you've got some things now that some people think that the ICE people have handled some things wrong. So there have been a few deaths. Now, those will be adjudicated in the process. But here we're talking 1, 2, or 3 at a, in some of several activities, versus millions of people dying under communism. And notice the communism, Mao, was that the Communist Party working? No, Mao was an autocrat. He rose in communist structure till he got in charge. When he's in charge, he killed people around him and everything else. There's no competition, as did Stalin. So no one questioned the top guy. Well, in fact, they are autocrats. They talk about communism, and when they pass on, yes, the Communist Party will bring up the next and determine the next person that's going to lead in their bureaucratic system. But they're putting in position another autocrat. Look at Xi Jinping. They're supposed to have 2 terms in their process, and he's for life unless he loses his power, and he may be losing his power, but he's in his 3rd term. So it's an autocrat process, and the key is what makes us so strong. It's the freedom of I think if you refer to the Declaration of Independence, it's an aspirational document. It said that we're endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. So it refers to the Creator. So it's religious in nature. And among those rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, those are very important things, and everybody would like to pursue them. But look what China is doing with the Falun Gong. They're oppressing them. They're killing it. They're arresting him, and they may be harvesting organs from him and killing him for medical revenues, because they're a threat to the thing. But what are the tenets of Falun Gong? It's about truth, wisdom, and fairness, in terms of how they treat their fellow man. What could be better? I mean, their fundamentals are incredible. So it's unbelievable. I mean, if you talk about what's being done in the world, people want to say we're doing something's wrong. Fine.
Right.
But let's go to Rousseau and the social contract. We have entered into a republic. The republic is not pure democracy because you've got tyranny of the majority. If it's a simple majority, as Peter could tell you, Switzerland is the perfect one. They have pure democracy. But outside of that, if the tyranny of the majority is if you have 51% of the vote, you can impose anything.
Yeah.
Well, the Republic says, I don't want everything imposed on. So we've got the senators, we've got the Electoral College, we've got the bicameral constitution of branches, tricameral, the judicial, congressional, and executive. And they're all checks and balances. They make things difficult. The founding fathers were brilliant. They were not only brilliant in history, they were brilliant in human nature. And so realizing the shortcomings of human nature, they put in checks and balances that weren't going to allow people to abuse things too rapidly. They could be caught and potentially stopped. That's what I think is occurring right now. Now, we may not have a popular president in terms of his personality, but look what's happened in NATO. They were funding their defense under 2%, depending upon us, and therefore abusing us financially.
Right.
They now committed to 5%. So that was not a small achievement. And they realize they have to be concerned about defending themselves. Yes, we'll help, but we can't be thought of to take care of everything.
So Sam, we go through and give a lot of examples about each of these topics, the foundation or pillars to which Kevin refers, the critical thinking that led into education and the value system, religion, faith, however you want to describe it for yourself, that has you every morning get up and know what's right and what's wrong and use it in your daily life. And then understanding when people corrupt and co-opt history and change it right in front of you, change the facts to fiction right in front of you. And knowing how all of that is impacting political systems which corrupt economic systems, we give lots of examples. It's not rocket science, but we lead you down this course and understanding that this is what's happening in this country. And we have to wake up and get back to the republic to which Kevin just referred, the social contract of Rousseau, which enables individuals to have a say in government. You're overstepping, step back government.
Yeah.
All of those things that were the foundation of what we are, the greatest, literally from an economic and many would argue a social contract point of view, the greatest country that ever existed, the United States, because it's 250 years, it created more wealth, eliminated more poverty by light years than any other system around. And here we go again, introducing socialism and communism, all with the knowledge that Marx and Engels were in England, never worked a day in their life, wrote a book about the proletariat, and told you what was right or wrong about the working man. Now, how absurd can you be?
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you about my sponsors quick. Sometimes I get on a roll cleaning or gardening, and I need a boost, but I don't have time for a meal. Big Fork Brand's pork jerky is the perfect choice to keep my momentum, offering high-protein snacks for on-the-go energy boosts. Not only do they offer pork jerky, but they also make pork sticks, bacon sausage, bacon hot dogs, and burger and hot dog sauces. Products come in a variety of delicious flavors, including Thai green curry and maple and brown sugar for the meat options, and gangster and Chicago fire for the sauces. I personally think the original flavor of the pork jerky hits just right after tackling a big chore. It's a little salty and very flavorful. My discount code gives you 20% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit bigforkbrands.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Led Zeppelin and Beatles apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found some items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Looking for a game-changing way to improve your health? Zevo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant, packed with over 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, and antioxidants. Harnessing the best nature has to offer, Zevo Life nourishes your body while driving your performance, vitality, and overall well-being. Each serving is a concentrated source of clean, well-balanced nutrition designed to support modern lifestyles, and just 1 teaspoon a day supports your gut, boosts energy, and promotes healthier skin and hair. It's no wonder it's receiving 5-star reviews. Step into a healthier future with a 30% discount and a 30-day risk-free guarantee by visiting zivo.life and using my promo code. To support my show and to receive 30% off your entire order, enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. So, when you were talking about education, you were making me think about my experience in college. I went back for my degrees at the age of 30. So just seeing how different school was in high school, like I had started my AA right after high school. And then maybe 28, I went to get the AA and then bachelor's and master's. And I remember in one class, I mean, I struggled with chemistry pretty bad, but my other classes I did pretty well in. But there was one class, it was death and dying, or perspectives on death and dying. And I could not figure out why this teacher would not give me an A on anything I handed in. And it was a lot of writing, and I do well with writing. I usually excel at that. I know what grade I should be getting. And one of my coworkers told me that she took the class the previous semester, and he wants you to get emotional and like cry. And so it was a paper though, like we were doing this online, because I graduated from the university in 2020. So things were kind of weird then, but I just went into all this detail about my cat dying. And I mean, of course it was sad, but it was like, why is that getting me a good grade? Why wouldn't just my writing and my research be getting me a good grade? Why do I have to get all emotional to get a good grade? And I think that that's a good indicator of how college has changed, is that they don't want you to critically think anymore. They don't seem to care if you're putting out good work anymore. And in my master's program, the writing of my classmates were worse than what I did in high school. So I didn't even feel any smarter after getting a master's degree because I didn't have to try that hard,
Well, yeah, I think the situation in my mind is exactly what you've described. An indoctrination. These guys think they're Ivy League, that they're in ivy covered walls or something, an institution that they're in, and so I'm really brilliant, and so just spit back what I tell you, and it will have rubbed off on you a bit. No. Yeah. I'm independent. I want to think independently. You should be testing me on how well I've mastered the material you trying to educate me in. Mm-hmm. So this guy wants emotion out of you? Excuse me. I mean, you want me to talk about emotion? Maybe that's something you want to present in the coursework about death and dying. Okay, what's the emotional process that one goes through? And so if I take that course, maybe there's a concept in there of death and dying about the development and the emotional impact and what we need to understand. Mm-hmm. But there's a few things that I think need to be addressed, and one of them, Peter just read a new book, and this guy's title of the book is Suicidal Empathy. Okay. And it's just 4-5 pages that he took pictures of and sent to me to look at. I took some notes from those things. Mm-hmm. And they're using empathy before common sense. It's out of order. If it doesn't meet the common sense test, then you can't. You're in danger of misapplying empathy. Empathy can be good, but it is not necessarily good if misapplied.
Right.
So I would be even stronger about that too. So I would say, giving examples right out of that book, empathy is run rampant in our country, and it's okay to have empathy, but empathy on steroids is a destructive tool. And I'll give you an example. the DEI cult versus meritocracy. You just identified it, Sam. The meritocracy. Where is the merit of producing something worthy of a grade, as opposed to following the instructions of some idiotic assignment talks
Yeah.
about?
Right.
Where did this relate to education, for which many people might have borrowed $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 to get that?
Mhm.
You know, they still owed it.
Yeah.
My truth,
Education.
not truth. Squatters, they seize homes as opposed to the homeowner rights. We've gone wacky. We've gone off the cliff on all of these topics. So,
you know, I use this a lot as an example. Animal hoarders. They keep taking on more and more animals because they want to help them,
there you
but
go.
really they're hurting them. And that's people really don't like it if you compare immigrants to dogs. But the point is like you said, the suicidal empathy, the putting the empathy first and not realizing, okay, but how can we, by doing this, what are we helping? Are we actually helping anything?
Well, here's an example. The Titanic sank.
Mm-hmm.
Safety boats were out in the North Atlantic. Safety boats had people in them. A few were filled. Many had some room. But there are people today, in my opinion and Kevin's opinion, that would, in their minds, logically invite the entire ocean into that safety boat,
right,
and sink it. But what's the problem? We did what was right. We did what was empathetic. We followed our purpose in life, and you wound up killing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's how wacky the logic has gotten.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's sure, you're thinking with your heart, but you have to think with your head too. And unfortunately, there are difficult decisions in life, and not everything's going to turn out with that happy ending. But
agreed. Totally agreed.
I feel that the internet is too much for people. What I'm trying to say is that for people who are busy and kind of just getting clips here and there of the news, but then they let themselves get upset about it. I tell people, if you don't have time to research what it is that's upsetting you, the topics that are being brought forth in the news, then don't watch it, because then you're making your opinions and screaming outrage over something you don't fully understand. And it just...
Well, I would make one adjustment to that, Sam. I would say, if you don't have time to research, so you're not going to develop expertise in something, you can listen. But if you think critically, you say, I doubt something. I doubt this. I doubt that. I doubt whatever. And that may empower you at another later time, without the opportunity to do some research, to ask questions.
Yeah.
So it's not about don't listen to something, because then you're shutting out information. You want information, you prefer good information, but you want to establish what is good and what is not good. That's critical thinking. This is not useful information. That is useful information. And so I'm taking in information, but I question everything. That's critical thinking.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is important that I'd like to highlight is Rousseau and the social contract. We've mentioned it a couple of times. What is it? In a social contract, in my interpretation of Rousseau, is that when you have a social contract, you have an agreement with the government. The government has rules, laws, regulations. You agree to be protected, so you're not dealt with by a Darwinist individual that's just more powerful than you, is going to club you over the head with something. So for your protections, you accept those protections. Now, what's your responsibility if you accepted it within this society? You have to live within those rules, laws, regulations. You don't get to demonstrate, destroy property, do anything else. If you don't like it, and it's a good country like ours, there are mechanisms for changing things. It may be long, it may be arduous, it may not be come to full fruition in your lifetime. We're here for a nanosecond in the history of mankind and the history of forever. So we are here for a nanosecond. And so people want things done instantly. The first thing I ought to do is, hey, change the time frames. I don't like something. I'm going to encourage proper change, but it may or may not occur in my time frame. And And so if you take your responsibility to work within the system to make some changes, and you dedicate yourself to make those changes as a high priority or not a high priority, determines how much time you're willing to put into it. Okay. But you've accepted and you're living under a comfortable process where you're protected by rules, laws, and regulations. If one of the funny things to do, we use quotes. Thomas Sowell is one of the brilliant ones. We've used Solzhenitsyn and everything else. Here's one from Sowell about communism. Most people who read the Communist Manifesto probably have no idea that it was written by a couple of young men who had never worked a day in their lives, who nevertheless spoke boldly in the name of the workers. People got a lot of interesting concepts. I have ideas. I'll put those out, but they need to be tested. They need to be validated by other people. And if they get enough power behind them, they may get tried. Okay, fine. But what's that mean? That means competition. If I'm going to try something, what am I doing? I'm trying to work in the marketplace of ideas. I have an idea proposed. And so you say, well, what were you doing? Well, I've identified a problem. Well, the first thing you do is say, is that really the problem or is it a symptom? If you've identified a symptom, you're going to play whack-a-mole, knocking it down because you're not solving the real problem.
Right.
So if you've identified and test the real problem, then you're in a position where you can now start coming up with ideas about solving it. But what do you do then? You look for litmus tests to say, how good are these solutions? What are some litmus tests? Is it consistent? If I've got there's a problem, I put and a person shows me that in another situation of a similar applied to that problem in a different fashion, it's not an answer. Well, that's not good. It's not consistent. Sustainability. I've got an answer. Well, can we do this forever? No, we can't. It's too expensive. Well, then you got a short-term thing you think's an answer. It can't solve it forever. And what you want to do is solve problems forever. But how do you go about doing that? Human nature. Well, in a capitalism, you've got incentive and motivation systems. People want to improve their lives. And so they seek to get qualified and earn money, and they want to rise in a competitive environment to get recognition and earn the money for the positions that they have attained under meritocracy. And so it's not DEI, it's who has the most skill.
Right.
I don't care what the background is. I took a Muslim home from pilot training at Christmas time to have another culture in my household with my parents. And yet guess what? He was Iranian, and a friend of mine was a captain on a flight that went in the Pentagon. So I think I'm pretty open-minded if I've taken Muslims home with me. But at the same time, I was demanding, well, what does Victor Davis Hanson say about cultures? Well, when you become part of the United States, why are you coming here? It's because I don't have as much opportunity where I come from. Super. Acknowledge that. Come in here. What do? I'm going to live under the rules, laws, regulations, social contract. Do we have a parallel set of laws? We're going to live under Sharia law?
Right.
No.
Right.
If you're going to come in here, you're going to be in a community. You are under ours. And if you think a particular provision from Sharia law is desirable, then you try and change the regular law into that. But you don't just bring in Sharia law and say, we're going to have a parallel process. Cultures can only exist and have progress and thrive if people care about each other. And that means we're not being tribal. But unfortunately, we have made great success, elected our first black president, Obama. And what did he proceed to do? He proceeded to divide and make it tribal. He wanted to go against the right wing. So he said they have problems. Well, he's a Democrat. What was the party that Lincoln was in when he was president? He's a Republican. He's the one that wrote the Emancipation Proclamation. The Southerners were trying to hold on to slavery. What party were they from? Democrats.
Right.
Then the Civil War got rid of that process, In 1964, who passed the Civil Rights Act? Lyndon Johnson was the president, but it was Republicans that voted it in.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So
Sam,
if
I
people
know
don't
you're under
understand
time
history,
constraints. We have
Oh.
some time constraints. You had some questions, I know, that you wanted to ask us, or maybe
Oh,
we're on them all.
yeah. So, all right. We kind of hit on a few of them that I wanted to ask. But I do want to know, what do you say to people who feel overwhelmed or powerless in today's political environment? Because sometimes it does feel like an endless battle.
Well, that's a very good question. Stepping back, those who feel, and we have to determine what you really, define what you really mean. Do they
Mhm.
want to separate themselves from the chaos because they're overwhelmed by the chaos? Or are they literally overwhelmed by so many fractious arguments that they simply don't know where to start?
Yeah.
And I think, as Kevin has indicated, and I've indicated, you have to start with what you feel. Never
Mhm.
discount how you feel. Your gut, your common sense, your ability to think, properly guided. And there's some techniques even in the first chapter of our book as to
Yeah.
really how to think critically. That gives you the basis and foundation from which you can grow and
Mhm.
build your little premise, and from your premise move into the apologetic, move into the thesis that you want to take on in the conversation with people. What
Yeah.
you'll find, as Kevin and I have found forever, is that you'll hit a hot button, and people who have identity politics on their mind, I can't talk to you. I can't. And they
Right.
get up from the table and leave. Well, that's their loss. It's collective loss, but it really
Mhm.
is their loss. And that it identifies what the problem really is, which is they prefer their view versus any other view. As Kevin says, start a discussion. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't know
Mhm.
about that. But, and so to advise someone who feels overwhelmed, go back to the basics and figure out what your gut is telling you. Look, this doesn't pass the smell test. I'm
Yeah.
not smart. I don't have all these degrees. I don't know what I just get up every day and I do my job, and 95% is showing up. And
Mhm.
why am I overwhelmed? Well, dissect it a bit, and you'll proceed to go right through our first couple of chapters.
Yeah.
That's all we're talking about.
Yeah.
and adding to that, the fabric of society is the measure. Is it, if someone says it, well, there's your solution, you say, wait a second, do I feel better about applying that solution?
Mhm.
If I feel cheated, if I feel treated unfairly, if I feel this and that kind of stuff, I can say, hey, I question that. It seems that might be a problem. You don't have to commit to saying you're wrong. Just
Right.
say it seems that could be wrong for these reasons. Now that's a good discussion. You're saying explain away my concerns.
Mhm.
If you can't, then I then my common sense allows me to stay where I'm at unless you can make good arguments.
Yeah.
Not say I argued it, you just have to follow me. No, I'm not following anybody. I'm my own independent thinker. That's what critical thinking is, being independent.
Yeah. What would you guys like the readers to take away from your book? And I do want to point out that I noticed that the shorter books, I've been told over and over again that you want to keep them under 300 pages. So how you guys have it formatted with the 109 pages and then the stuff in the back, I think that's excellent for today's readers. But what would you like the readers to take away?
Well, I made it very clear to Kevin 3.5 years ago that I didn't want to write a book with lots of footnotes.
Okay.
Footnotes bog you down.
Yeah.
They might be explanatory. They might be illuminating the
Mhm.
points you're trying to raise. But given the intellectual crisis we have at colleges and universities to which you referred,
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that just coming out and saying what makes sense from our point of view made the most sense for us. And so
Mhm.
if people don't like the thesis, if they don't start by saying, America's not being hijacked, there's just some dumb people running it, and we got to change that. Well, they're not going to like the book. Okay, so that's fine. Walk away. Buy the
Mhm.
book first, then walk away. No.
Yeah.
So
Well,
go ahead, Kevin.
I would say that the most important thing for people to understand is what our country was founded on. Brilliant founding fathers that had they would have been in a noose had they not won the war, because they went against the British Crown.
Right.
So they were traitors at that point in time, and so they committed themselves and their honor to each other. And the famous phrase by Benjamin Franklin: "We shall all hang together, or we shall indeed all hang separately." So there are some funny things. Another woman comes out and says, "How are you? What have you created?" And Ben Franklin says, "A republic, if you can keep it," which is kind of a takeoff on our title. So it's understanding your own value system, critical thinking, and being focused on the fabric of society. We do need, on an empathy basis, to focus on others, but we need to harness the power of pursuit of self-interest, which is capitalism. So it all works together. And I think that to get the big perspective that will prepare people to be able to carry on other conversations, that's why we think the book is so important. And we really think it'd be a great semester, 2-semester course for schools, so that children are taught more about civics and their responsibility within the government process. And the economic systems.
Sounds good. Well, I know that the book can be found on Amazon, because I think I found it and I intend to read it. So we'll have to keep in touch after I've read it. But where else can people find you?
Well, certainly from our webpage, and that links to Amazon and the Barnes & Noble, Hijacked Our Republic .com. We have all of the podcasts, including this one soon to be, that I've attached to the webpage. We have radio interviews we've done with local broadcasters. We have comments from people all across the country that have liked the book, and in their own various unique, commonsensical way, they've given their perspective as to why they like the book, which appears different, but like a tapestry, it weaves together to prove the basic tenets of, look, the greatest country ever, the greatest concept of political self-rule, and why are we trashing it? And let's examine why we're trashing it, or how it's being trashed, and let's save it if we can.
Sounds good. Well, I want to thank you both for being here today and for being patient for the audience. I was running a little bit late, but hopefully I can talk to you guys again soon, and we can go further into everything.
We'd love it.
Thanks, Sam. Very nice talking to you. Thank you.
Look forward to it.
Yes. Thank you.